Hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is March 23rd when I'm recording this, and we're still dealing with some volatility after the FOMC. So we're going to dive into that, show you some of the bigger tickers and kind of what's going on with some of the other ETFs and market breadth, market indicators that we can kind of work with. So if you guys find this interesting, if you like the way that I talk and look through the markets and want to see more of this, $7 trial for 30 days, come over to the Moxie Indicator Mastery. It's basically the Moxie trading room, and we have a lot of people in there who like to chat, and we go back and forth, and a lot of information is given out. Plus, I stream of consciousness through all the posts and stuff that I do. So we've got a lot of happy campers in there, and it's a fun time. So come on over, check it out if you guys are interested. All right, so as far as the market goes, let me first dive deep down, close down, so that we can look at this and say, okay, what's been happening with some of these near-term moves due to the FOMC? Well, first off, leading up into the FOMC, what did we have here? We ran into a downtrending hourly 200, and that pretty much worked out because Wednesday after the FOMC, we went straight down here to the 50. So that made sense. Rejected at the 50, rejected at the 200, came down to the 50. Now, what happened next, which is today, Thursday, markets decided that was cool. We came down, tested support. They decided to actually move up. So what they did is they then moved up to the 15-minute 50, which was again to the hourly 200, and rolled over again. I actually made a post to the Moxie subscribers showing how this day trade worked out. It was a very, very clean setup on the 15-minute and the 2-minute, with the 5, of course, confirming as well. So we went in there. Again, if you guys are interested in kind of day trading with the Moxie indicator, it works perfectly well for it. I show it all the time, and that's one of the things that we did in the Moxie room is review this. The other interesting thing is there was an inverse elf shoe. So if you guys can see that, basically a double top right in through there, inverse elf shoe, wide moat, big moat, little moat, and then the 8 and 21 crossover. Now, we do have to balance all of that with the daily chart. You can see we got rejected by the daily 50. However, we have been coming up from our oversold condition, and until this changes, there's the possibility that we might be seeing the 8 and 21 narrow here. And what that looks like, if you look at the past, is you can see 8 and 21 narrow and then crossover, it's bullish. You can see the 8 and 21 narrow, crossover, bullish. And you can see the 8 and 21 narrow, and if it crosses over, we can go bullish. So that's kind of the bullish thing if we manage to move up. However, if this is going to continue to be bearish, imagine price to get rejected by the daily 50 and continue to go down. And we should see price continue to get rejected either by the hourly 200 or the hourly 50. So we're really kind of in no man's land because we're just going sideways like this. I'm getting a little bit of both signals, here's the possibility for going up and here's the possibility for going down. And we're going to have to wait until we actually see one of these sides actually engage that way. Right now, we're mostly going sideways, so not the easiest thing to figure out on that for the SPY. That being said, let me sidestep a little bit. We can look at the UVXY and see if there's anything here to review. And we look at this on the daily, and then let me show you this on the hourly. There was basically, you can see here, price was below the hourly 50. Notice the Moxie indicator was above 0. And so that was a trampoline move. And we got price kind of moving right back up. In fact, you can see there's a double bottom. So that's an elf shoe. Leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot, elf toe. And all of this on the daily chart is price pulling back to the daily 50 with the Moxie indicator very much above 0. So, this is looking kind of bullish. This is setting up to where we could be going bullish. But these need to continue this direction. Like basically we need to see price stay over the daily 50. We need to see price eventually get over the hourly 50, and we need to see price engage with the 15-minute 50. So if that continues to happen, this will be bullish. That will mean the SPY is bearish. However, if this is not bullish, then what we're going to see is price somehow around here, the hourly 50 won't be able to get over it. It'll end up going down like this, and we will see price and continue back down like this. It'll cut through the 15-minute 50 and continue down, and following that, it'll just fall off of the daily 50. That's perfectly feasible, possible, because when the UVXY, like when volatility just goes away and the market goes up, this will just keep sliding. It'll just keep sliding to the downside, just like what you saw here. Once it finally broke, it just, down, 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 down. And so we're just going to wait and see if that happens. So you have the roadmap for if this wants to go higher, and you have the roadmap if it's going to go lower. Let's look at TLT. I actually want to show you this on a little bit of the higher time frames, daily, hourly, because there is some stuff to see here. Ooh, wait, oh, now we need to switch that over. TLT, there we go. I was like, it almost looks familiar. Okay, so if we can see here, what do we have this last time? Price was below the 50. The Moxie indicator was above 0. So this was a bit of a bullish indication, trampoline move. And what we could see was right here, price down, Moxie indicator up, and boom, there's your Moxie price trigger. And then you could see price engaged with the hourly 50. So the Moxie indicator is really helping you out on this one, keeping you on the right side and looking at this. Yes, price got a little overbought, but what did it do now? Now we have a potential trampoline move. Do you see how this and this are basically the same thing? Price below the 50, Moxie indicator above 0, and a nice up move. So I know it's the TLT, TNX, inverse, regular, and I'm open-minded that this may not actually go someplace. I can't tell yet if this is actually going to have a fairly big move to the upside, which would be TNX down, or we can get these signals and maybe price just kind of chops around sideways. That's entirely possible too. There are a lot of big macro forces at play with this, so I don't want to be putting too much emphasis on it in case some weird things happen because of basically the economy, macro forces, and stuff that a typical stock wouldn't necessarily have to be dealing with. All right, and then we look at the UUP. Another pretty typical thing that we're looking at, price getting rejected by the 200 and continuing down. We could also see that started most immediately with an inverse trampoline move. Again, this is how the Moxie indicator helps you. In fact, if you're looking at the dollar here, what is this? That is a regular trampoline move. And look at the move we got out of this. What was this? That is an inverse trampoline move. And look at the move we got here. So the Moxie indicator really, really helps you guys here. It works. This is why I have it. This is why I created it. And, this is how I'm able to get where I am nowadays, was because of the Moxie indicator. Right, then we come over to the NASDAQ, and we're at a little bit of a challenging place, and the reason for that is we are right at a previous high. And not only that, we're a little extended to the high side, a little bit of a gap between price and the 8 EMA, and we're up here at the 30 ATR. So it makes sense that it's going to take a little bit of time to get itself figured out. Maybe it needs to kind of come through here, maybe dip a little bit, regain some strength and some momentum if it's going to go higher. That's the bullish side of things. If it is not going to be bullish, then what we need to be expecting is double top, and maybe it starts coming back down the other way. But if that's going to happen, you just got to wait for it and look for it. But right now, NASDAQ's up, things are looking good. I don't see anything that says that this is going to roll over and die. The only thing, if it is double top. But I don't see anything yet. It is still basically in an uptrend on all time frames. And then if you look at the SOXX, same thing. This thing is in an uptrend. It is doing fairly well. Yes, it's dealing with its previous high, but it's actually breaking out. So it's making new highs. Could there be a pullback? Of course. Could it be pretty steep underneath the hourly 50? Of course. Just like there was a pullback and there was a pullback. Definitely possible. But for now, everything's looking pretty good. So we'll have to see if this ends up being a bull trap and somehow rolls over and really just home run for the bears. But for now, it's up and doing okay. And if we look at the IWM, this is where some of the problems are. So you can clearly see that the indices are kind of off doing their own thing, and the question is, how long can these kind of divergences last? Markets don't like to be too far out of whack from each other. But IWM has a lot of oil stocks and a lot of banking stocks, which are both getting hit right now. So clearly, IWM is having a really hard time. The only thing I'll kind of say to that is maybe it's getting a little bit oversold. Price come up here at the third ATR, very, very pushed down. And you can see that there's a gap between price and the daily 50. And you could just see in the past, gap between price and the daily 50, gap, all that kind of stuff, gap. And what to do? Every time it really got to the lower third ATR, it bounced up. And we're kind of in that same situation now. So that's kind of a bigger picture, though. It's clearly not working yet, but it's something to keep in mind that if you're like, oh, I'm going to be shorting this, well, it might be a tough place to kind of get short. I mean, unless we really are heading for a crash market where this thing's just going to keep going down, I would kind of lean more towards this being oversold, and there might be a bounce, even if it does roll over. You know, I would expect a bounce before it's going to roll over to the big side. We don't know if it's going to roll over. I'm just saying that I think this would be a hard place to short. And if I were looking to short, I'd prefer to do a bounce and then roll over, something like that. And you can see on the hourly chart, you know, again, not much is happening. You know, can't really do much with this. But I am wondering, price down, Moxie indicator up. A little bit of divergence. Nothing super important yet. Nothing we can quite work with. But I am aware of it. And the Dow, kind of the same thing. You know, we look at this, kind of the same thing. Very oversold, 30 ATR. You know, it's been trying to make some progress here. In fact, we do have positive divergence right there on the hourly chart. And we'll just have to see, you know, when it gets down to its third ATR, it does tend to like to bounce. I mean, look at that. Every time we see that. And here we are down at its third ATR. Of course, as I said, doesn't have to happen, but it's something to keep in mind because it's like, well, this is kind of getting an area where it's a little bit oversold. If that were to happen, this is a potential F shoe. So we could be seeing this as a retest the low area, and we might be getting price to move up a bit like that. All right, so that's the Dow. And then some areas that are rolling over and going down. Let's look here first. So USO, XOP, XLE. I like XOP right here because it's pretty clean, and it's further ahead on the downside. But what you can see is price has been following the monthly 10 to the downside. Price has been following the monthly 10 to the upside. And oh look, here we have price following the monthly 10 to the downside again. So it seems to me like XOP is in a downtrend, or at least, you know, just starting one. And you can also see here double top, negative divergence, Moxie price trigger, and things are starting to move to the downside. If we look here on the daily chart, what was some of the things that you know, we could see? First of all, you know, kind of bumpy, but what was all that? Every time price was going up over a downtrending daily 50 and the Moxie indicator was below zero, it was an inverse trampoline move. The other thing we could be looking at is the 50 crossed below the 200. So yeah, it's at a downtrend. Now, kind of like I said with Dow and the IWM, you know, maybe this is a hard place to try to get short on something, mostly because it's at the third ATR and it's pretty far away from the moving averages. So, like the Dow and the IWM, maybe see if it starts to trend up in a bear flag and then you can short it. You know, just kind of keep an eye out for that and just make sure you get the right places, right positions to actually short these things. All right, so then we kind of come over to Amazon. And we're basically seeing a double bottom working out on the weekly chart. And we're seeing some of the Moxie formations on the daily chart. So first off, we have a 50, 200, 50 maneuver, and it worked. It worked out bullishly. You know, remember last time, it did not work out bullishly. That was definitely bearish. You can even see here, that one was bearish too. But this one is different. This one, price went below the 50, the Moxie indicator stayed above zero, and now we're back up again. So this looks bullish. Until this changes, until this falls apart, and until this thing decides to just break and go back down and make new lows, I've got to give the edge to the bulls. I know it seems crazy out there and what's going on, but you know, unless this goes sideways or chops or just doesn't do anything, yeah, I got to give the edge to the bulls. It had a trampoline move. We're making higher lows. The 8 is over the 21. Price is over the 50. I mean, everything looks good. And if you look at price down, Moxie indicator up, there's your price trigger. We have price holding the hourly 50, and we have the 50 over the 200. So, you know, right now with this picture, this looks bullish, and that's all I can say. So if this changes in a week or two and it becomes bearish, fine. You know, then we'll see that. We'll see price start to roll over again. We'll see price get underneath the hourly 50. We'll see the Moxie indicator below zero, and we'll see price start to break and fail back down below these moving averages on the daily chart. But until we see that, edges to the bulls on this stuff. So there's Amazon. Basically the same story, same idea with Google and the other FANG stocks. It is very hard to be bearish on something like this because again, we have a 50, 200, 50 maneuver. We also have a trampoline move, price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. We also have a double bottom right there. And then on the hourly chart, you can see there's your double bottom, there's your positive divergence, there's the Moxie price trigger, and look at where we are. So, you know, pretty impressive. Now, that doesn't mean this is a place to go long. you are right up here at the previous high, double top, just like I was saying with the NASDAQ. You're also up here at the 30 ATR and you're a bit gapped up. You know, like this is not the best place to go long. So I would not be surprised if there is a pullback. I would be expecting a pullback or maybe a flag, something like that. So don't confuse a pullback in the next couple days as like a, oh haha, you were wrong with your bullishness. Now expect a pullback, and then we have to see if that pullback kind of turns into bullishness, kind of like that. So we'll have to see if it comes back, holds, and if it continues to move up, well, then it was a bullish pullback. If this comes down and then kind of goes sideways and continues to fall, then fine, things changed, and now it's going to be bearish. But you know, right here, right now, it's looking pretty good, and we'll just have to, you know, confirm one way or another if it's going to continue. Then we come over to Apple. Another situation that seems kind of tough to try to say anything bearish about. I was expecting price to come back down and actually touch the daily 50 in through here. It did not. So I was a little surprised by that. It's actually holding up quite well. And then right here on the hourly chart, you can see the Moxie price trigger again. A little bit of a level. There's your positive divergence. And as I said, not the greatest idea to get long fresh right there at the 30 ATR. It is pulling back a little bit. And at this point, we just have to see if this pullback is into strength or into weakness. But look at that. It's making new highs. So, you know, it seems okay for now. If that story changes, then we'll change with it. And then Tesla, this has been another big one. See, I've been talking about, and in fact, do you guys see the elf shoe? I mean, look right there. So we've been talking about this extensively in the Moxie room. Leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. What if we get an elf sow? What if that thing actually starts going bullish? That thing looks great. So until this changes, this kind of looks bullish. Now, you can see, I've also been relating it to this. You can see, yes, look at that. It did bounce off the daily 50 and then failed. This is my point. When I talk about Amazon or the NASDAQ or Microsoft or whatever, and any of these things, and I say they look bullish right now. Well, you know, right here, yes, it was bullish until it changed and failed. So this is the thing about the market. You can have bullish signals, you can have bullish setups that they last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, or they can last a few weeks, and then they can fail. You know, so it can fire a perfect bullish signal somewhere in there, and then not hold it. That is totally in the right of the market to do. So that is something that you just need to be aware of. That for as much as it might look like a great bullish thing right here, and it could maybe take you up a little bit, it can always change. So that's why I have to just say, look, for right now, it's looking pretty good. So we've been waiting for price to kind of pull back here on the hourly chart, mostly because I wanted to see if price can actually hold the hourly 50. And so this is kind of coming into a test. If this can continue to hold the hourly 50, then we can continue to be bullish. You'll have the price over the daily 50, the 8 over the 21, and it'll continue to move to the upside. Another thing as I wrap up here that I wanted to show you guys that I thought was interesting, if you look at FXI, and I talked about this in the webinar that I had, the Bull Bear webinar, which right here, if you guys want to come over to Simpler Trading's YouTube page, and this was back on March 1st, somewhere around there, and yeah, bullish or bearish, and this is what I'm talking about, and I build the case that, you know, kind of seeing some bullishness out there. Now again, if that changes, great, but what we can look at here is if we look at the monthly chart, and remember I was just talking about XOP, you know, following the monthly 10 to the upside, bullish, following the monthly 10 to the downside, bearish. Now what does this look like? It sure looks to me like the beginning, or at least trying to engage with the monthly 10. What we can also see, inverse head and shoulders on the weekly chart. And this looks like a fairly constructive pullback into potential support. And if we look at the daily chart, not too much to see here on the hourly or daily. And I think this was about a 50% retracement, something like that. And look where it went, right to that level. There's definitely a price level right there. Moxie indicator is a little bit delayed on the daily chart. That's fine because this is still not totally perfect yet. But what do we have on the hourly chart? We have price down, Moxie indicator up, Moxie price trigger. So, you know, we're starting to get a move. If this can continue to work out, then, you know, I'm seeing some strength. And for whatever reason, just the chart saying, looks like this thing wants to continue moving higher. So again, until these change, these things are looking bullish. Maybe this is going to be a trap, but right now we just can't see it. Just be prepared and be nimble. All right, guys. Thanks again for your time. And remember, if you're interested in the way that I look at the markets and charts and all that kind of stuff, you can definitely come on over and you can see more of this. I talk about it all the time. I'm on the mic a lot. You can ask me questions. And you come on over. We've got a really good trial deal going on. So come on over and we'll see you at the Moxie Indicator Mastery, which is the trading room that I run. All right, guys. Thanks again. See you soon.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're going to bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.